December 1937. The Marijuana Tax Act is signed into law, effectively criminalizing recreational marijuana use. 1940s. U.S. Department of Agriculture launched its Hemp for Victory program, encouraging farmers to plant hemp by giving out seeds and granting draft deferments to those who would stay home and grow hemp. By 1943, American farmers registered in the program harvested 370,000 acres of hemp. 1951 to 1956. Two acts were instituted to control marijuana more strictly. In 1951, the Boggs Act imposed maximum criminal penalties for violations of the import, export, and internal revenue laws related to drugs. This act also established mandatory minimum prison sentences. The Narcotics Control Act of 1956 increased the Boggs Act penalties. A first offense marijuana possession now carried a minimum sentence of 2 to 10 years, with a fine of up to $20,000. 1960s. Marijuana use was popular in counterculture. A changing political and cultural climate was reflected in more lenient attitudes towards marijuana. 1973. The Drug Enforcement Administration was established on the 1st of July 1973 by merging the Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs with the Office of Drug Abuse Law Enforcement and other federal offices. The DEA is the branch of law enforcement that deals with the laws and regulations of controlled substances in the United States. 1986. The Anti-Drug Abuse Act was signed by President Ronald Reagan and instituted mandatory sentences for drug-related crimes. Offenders possessing 100 kilograms of marijuana faced a minimum 5-year prison sentence. Larger distributors, those with an offense involving 1,000 kilograms of marijuana, face a minimum 10-year prison sentence. 1996. Medical use of marijuana was legalized in California. Voters passed Proposition 215, allowing for the sale and medical use of marijuana for patients with AIDS, cancer, and other serious and painful diseases.
In January 2004, when Obama was running for the Senate, he told Illinois college students that he supported eliminating criminal penalties for marijuana use or possession. During a debate at Northwestern University, he said, "I think the war on drugs has been a failure, and I think we need to rethink and decriminalize our marijuana laws. But I'm not somebody who believes in legalization of marijuana." A spokesperson of Obama said Obama had always supported decriminalizing marijuana, but he reiterated Obama's opposition to full legalization, adding that an Obama administration would review drug sentences to see where we can be smarter on crime and reduce the blind and counterproductive sentencing to nonviolent offenders. In 2004, he supported the decriminalization of marijuana, but recently he has backed off of that position. In a debate, Obama said that he believes that we need to rethink how we are operating in the drug wars, and currently we are not doing a good job. He has also said he is open to limited legalization if the science and the doctors suggest that the best way to care and to relieve pain and suffering is medical marijuana, but he wanted to be prescribed under strict guidelines in the same way that other painkillers or palliative drugs are prescribed.
Voluntary urine samples collected from arrested individuals across the United States by the National Institute of Justice's Arrestee Drug Abuse Monitoring Program showed that 41.5% of male arrestees tested positive for marijuana and 28.4% of female detainees tested positive for marijuana at the time of their arrest. Most ATOM locations have seen an increase in marijuana abuse among young arrestees. The abuse rate has more than doubled from only 25% in 1991 to 57% in 1996. The Drug Enforcement Administration made 5,502 arrests in 2002 involving marijuana. Agencies working with the DEA made an additional 8,247 arrests under the Domestic Cannabis Eradication Suppression Program. In 2002, 3.3 million marijuana plants were seized by the DEA. 1.3 million of these plants were seized in California alone. 1,538,813 arrests were made by the Federal Bureau of Investigation in 2002 for drug abuse violations. 5.4% of these, 83,096 arrests, were for the manufacture and sale of marijuana, and 39.9%, 613,986 arrests, were for the possession of marijuana. In 2002 alone, 2,412,365 pounds of marijuana was seized and reported to the federal-wide drug seizure system. In 1997, the United States Forest Service seized 316,013 plants, and in 2001, 719,985 plants were confiscated from area forests. In 1997, marijuana was the most commonly used drug by state and federal prisoners. 77% of state prisoners reported lifetime use of marijuana, and 65% of federal prisoners reported lifetime use. Of these prisoners, 15% of state were under the influence of marijuana during arrest, and 11% of federal prisoners were under the influence of marijuana at the time of their arrest. In 2001, 8,000 federal arrests were made involving marijuana. 90% of these were for drug trafficking, and 10% were for possession. The median amount of marijuana involved in these arrests was about 1.3 ounces. The average sentence for federal and state prisoners in 2001 was 38 months.
Medical marijuana is very controversial because according to federal law it is illegal, but according to some state laws it is legal for some patients and doctors to grow and use. 10 states allow the legal use of marijuana. They include California, Colorado, Hawaii, Maine, Michigan, Montana, Nevada, New Mexico, Oregon, Alaska, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Washington, and even includes the District of Columbia. These states allow the use of marijuana because it has possible benefits providing relief of symptoms for several diseases like multiple sclerosis, cancer, AIDS, epilepsy, asthma, and glaucoma. Marijuana's most influential ingredient, THC, affects the central nervous system, which controls pain, emotion, memory, and motor functions. This is why many of the symptoms are benefited. The benefits of marijuana are different for each disease. Marijuana can help MS patients handle the spasming associated with the disease and relieve pain. For cancer and AIDS patients, it can provide relief from nausea, vomiting, and pain, and can increase their appetites. Ingredients in marijuana can help glaucoma patients by reducing pressure buildup in the eyes, and they can prevent epileptic seizures by calming the body. Marijuana also may be used to help with asthma symptoms and mood regulation as well. But like all possible medicines, marijuana comes with its negative effects. Physical effects can include different types of cancer, a weak immune system, risk of chronic cough and respiratory infections because of damage to the lungs, and lowered sperm count in males. Effects can also include delirium, which can be defined as confusion, agitation, disorientation, hallucinations, and poor coordination. A few arguments that are most commonly heard are that marijuana is addictive or habit-forming, which can lead to the difficulty of withdrawal symptoms, and that it is often seen as a gateway to more harmful drugs. When people think of using marijuana, they usually picture someone smoking a joint. Although smoking marijuana is the most common form of taking the drug, it can be taken in other ways as well. It can be eaten, drunk, or injected into the veins directly. Marijuana is not eaten directly, but is usually ground up and used as a type of flour, or is just added to many different foods, such as many baked goods, butter, and even spaghetti sauce. In order to acquire the effects of marijuana from a drink, it is made into a tea. After hearing about all the hassle involved with the natural marijuana, you may be asking yourself if there are alternatives that give the same effects. 3 medicines that are made of the active ingredient in marijuana, THC, are actually out there. The Mayo Clinic cites 3 medicines, dronabinol, Marinol, and Sativex. Marinol is the strongest out of the 3 drugs because it is made from pure THC, but sometimes it can be too strong, knocking people out. Marinol and dronabinol are both available in capsule form, while Sativex is in the form of a mouth spray. Marinol and dronabinol are legal in the U.S. Sativex is legal in Canada, but still being tested in the U.S. And now for a commercial break.